It's been a while, so let's talk audio. It's been a while since the last video, and I think now it's a good time to share my experience about Bang & Olufsen sound systems. I wanted to make this video because there aren't that many comprehensive descriptions about Bang & Olufsen sound systems in BMWs, and I know a lot of people are considering them. They're considering retrofitting them, and if you have ever retrofitted a sound system to a BMW, which I did once, and there is a video on my channel about doing that, wiring is really like, it's a pain in the ass. So you have to take your whole interior apart, and like replacing speakers is a piece of cake. Doing wiring is much harder. So if I were you, and if I were to choose a car now, if I were buying a car, and I had a chance, of course, to get the one with Bang & Olufsen in it from day one, perfect. But if not, I would try to get the one with either HiFi or Harman Kardon in place, and then just go and buy a dedicated set of amps and speakers from Match or Focal or Audiosun if you are like a little bit more affordable end. And yeah, you would be so well off. I mean, you don't really miss much except of this like nice moving up and down center channel, but that's about it. So let's talk characteristics. So you have 1200 watts, 16 speakers, out of them 7 are tweeters. So you have a tweeter here, you have a tweeter in the rear shelf, you have a tweeter in the rear door, if I remember correctly, because I don't think they have just the normal mid-range, and you have a tweeter in the middle. So as soon as that thing pops up, there's a mid-range and a tweeter there. So 7 tweeters, 7 mid-range speakers. So again, 1 in each door, so 4 doors, and 1 on each side of the rear shelf, plus 1 there. In the estate version, you would actually have them not in the rear shelf, but you would have them on the roof, installed somewhere around here, which I think looks cool and makes you feel like you have a dedicated high-end 3D, whatever you can call it, sound. And of course you have 2 woofers under seats. And in general, the system is pretty nice. You actually get a dedicated CD with it. Let me see if I can find it. Looks pretty cool. Has 10 songs. I mean, if you have an original OEM Bang & Olufsen sound system, you have this CD. You can check out the playlist by yourself. It's not too bad. I mean, it is in high quality, so you can enjoy it. But realistically speaking, sound system has almost nothing to do with the quality of the end product you will be getting, because A, you would be streaming most likely, and if you're streaming, you're basically losing so much quality that having a high-end sound system doesn't really make any sense. And 2, sound deadening. Imagine yourself on the subway with the best headset you could probably find, and you won't have the best quality, simply because there is so much noise around you that whatever sound is coming directly into your ears doesn't really matter, because there's so much noise interfering with that. On the opposite spectrum of that, imagine yourself sitting in the perfectly quiet room with a very average set of headphones, and you would have crystal clear quality of whatever you're listening to. It's the same with the car. I mean, BMW F-series, for example, never had double glazed windows, so on the highway speeds, I wouldn't say it's noisy. It's, I think, still one of the best isolated cars in its class, but it's not quiet for sure. You're losing some of that audio quality to the noise. But for the city driving, what I did for every car I had, I sound deadened it, whatever the past form of deadening is. So I did sound deadening to the doors, and so I put, I think, 2.5 millimeter, it looks like tar, something you would put on the roof, but it's dedicated for the cars. This is to get rid of the resonating frequencies of the doors. And then I also put this sort of like foam, like I think it's 4 millimeter on all of the plastics that are inside. So this allowed me to get rid of the vibrations in the city, like low speed noise, because on the low speeds, you don't really hear wind noise or tire noise. You basically hear vibrations and resonating sounds from cars passing by. So whenever you are deadening the doors, you're making them a bit heavier, you allow the sound to be reflected a little bit better, to be actually kept. So this becomes like a chamber for the sound. So on the low speeds, you actually improve the quality of your sound by a lot. And I tried it with different audio systems in my previous cars, also BMW F10s, and it always works. So it's one of the cheapest upgrades you can do. Just spend, I don't know, it's like $100 maybe in materials. You will also refresh the butyl cord that holds the door panel in place, because in BMW F10, that's a weak spot. If you ever have water in your interior when you open the door and you have water, that's because there is a leak around the inside of this door panel, and to fix it you just need to remove it and replace the butyl, like it's a thin layer of butyl that holds it in place. So but that's about the sound quality in general. But then when it comes to the settings that are a little bit different compared to some other audio systems you would get, so you would have a little bit more in terms of equalization options. I think Harman Kardon has similar one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I never tuned Harman Kardon. I heard it, but never actually played with the settings. And you have two modes. You have the studio mode, which is like a more standard mode, and then you have the expanded mode, which is very sort of, I would say, reverbial. So it makes vocals much more clear. It makes vocals stand out much more. It's very nice with acoustic music, with like rock or I don't know, anything instrumental, anything live. It would sound much better in expanded mode rather than in the studio mode. But studio mode is the best for anything electronic. So if you're listening to electronic music, it could be hip hop, EDM, whatever, studio mode is your best friend, because that's where you get very tight bass, you get much better quality. And actually, to showcase it, because again, YouTube will block anything that has copyrights on it, so I went smarter and I just downloaded some beats here, and I'll play one of them in two different modes so you can hear the difference. And I highly recommend you putting on the headsets now if you're not listening in the headsets, because whatever speakers you have, and it's just the way YouTube works and sound compression works, you would really hear no difference between the two. But if you do use headphones, I think this would actually work. So let's go in it now. Expanded mode. So I think you could hear some difference. I don't know how much of it you can hear, but through the headphones or through YouTube video compression. But in general, that's more or less about it. So I did have a chance to compare this system with my previous car, where I just installed I think it was like a 7-speaker system. I installed old Harman Kardon speakers in the doors, and I installed a dedicated amp, a modern amp. I didn't have the central channel, which, even though Bang & Olufsen says this is their tweeter dome technology, it's really not. It doesn't feel like it. I mean, I had a chance to, I have Bang & Olufsen sound systems at home. I had a chance to listen to their dedicated speakers before. This doesn't sound like it's actively changing the way I'm perceiving sound, to be honest. The stage itself sounds almost exactly the same as it does in Harman Kardon systems. This has a little bit more clarity and a little bit more power, but that's it. I mean, it doesn't sound Bang & Olufsen. And I mean, come on, guys. don't expect Bang & Olufsen. Like, this is not real Bang & Olufsen. Because whenever BMW or whatever manufacturer, I mean Mercedes with their Burmester sounds, or new Bowers and Wilkins, trust me, none of these high-end companies are actually putting high-end systems in these cars. It's mostly processing, and they go with as cheap materials as possible because the car manufacturer has one single purpose in mind. It's, you know, reducing costs and maximizing profits. And trust me, Bang & Olufsen, I don't remember how much the system was new. I think in this car, I found the price list from 2015. This is 2014. The car is from 2014. In 2015, I found one price list where it said that Bang & Olufsen sound system as an option was somewhere around £5,000 in the UK, which at the time was around 6,000 euros, which adjusted for inflation now would be like 7,000 euros at least. Like, that's not worth it. On secondhand market, these go for like 2,000 euros, 2.5, the whole set. It's not even worth that. I would personally not buy it. For 2,000 euros or dollars, you can actually get a much better system. You may not get the same stage. So like the expanded mode you have here, you probably won't get, for 2,000, you won't get the same processing to be able to have this like surround effect. But again, do you really need it? You're kind of losing most of it on highway speeds. But other than that, I mean, if you just get the dedicated amp, you get a nice processor, you tune it, you go to the shop that understands how to work with these, you get modern components that were built specifically to sound good. They were not built with, you know, car sales economies in mind. I mean, of course they have their own costs and profits and their own economics, but if you ever saw how these speakers look, I'll try to find a picture and pull it up here. In terms of their quality, they don't really look that much different from anything else that BMW is selling. So, I mean, Harman Kardon or HiFi. I mean, HiFi is, yeah, it looks a little bit worse. But, I mean, compare it to dedicated systems from like Match or Focal for BMW. And I haven't had a chance to listen to Focal. I listened to Match that was put instead of the HiFi. And it has way more bass and way more clarity in the mid-range. It's not as precise in the high end, but again, it depends what kind of music you're listening. For electronic music, you don't really need crystal clear high end sort of range of the frequencies. But I have not heard yet the brand new BMW sound systems. If you guys did it, let me know in the comments how it sounds. I did have a chance to listen to Bowers and Wilkins in the G30, so the next gen BMW from this, and their high-end sound system doesn't sound, I mean, any better, to be honest. I think that BMW has a little bit better sound deadening from the factory, but it has worse sound deadening than my car has right now because I added a little bit of that. But other than that, if you have I mean, I don't know what was before F10 in the E60. What was their high end? I think it was like Logic 7 was their high end, like Harman Kardon, Logic 7. I had a chance to listen to that, but it sounds powerful, but it's just old. I mean, like the sound processing wasn't as good. And whatever, as I said in the beginning, whatever sound system you have, it matters what you're playing with it. So in my case, I actually just got a 64 gig USB drive, and I put like 50 gigs of FLAC or FLAC, like lossless audio in it, and then it makes sense. I mean, if you're listening to high-end music, I mean high-end quality of the music, it's non-compressed, it's not streamed, then it's perfect. If you're listening to Bluetooth, I mean, it's okay, it's fine. It is actually better if you plug it in, because even though this is 2014 and it doesn't have Apple CarPlay, it has a dedicated Spotify app. And if you plug your phone in the center channel, and you have the USB here, and if you just use the normal cable and plug it in, it will show up here. It looks like shit, but it works, and it's actually it's faster, and the quality of the audio is better than if you're just streaming it. At least that was my experience. Maybe it's wishful thinking, maybe, you know, it's all in my head, but I did try to be non-biased about it, and it feels a little bit more, a little bit higher quality. But share your experiences if you have upgraded your systems to Focals. How did that go? And was it worth it? But other than that, I think that will be it for now. And next one, after this car gets out of the paint shop, I will tell you a little bit more about how much does it cost to keep up the probably highest spec'd F10 I have seen in my life so far, which is this one right now. And this is a 530 xDrive from 2014, and it has already 234,406 kilometers on the clock. And out of them, like 20k are mine. By the way, if anyone tells you that BMWs are using like 5 liters per 100, this is more like it. 8.4 is more like it, which is, again, it's nothing for a 3-liter 200, almost 260 horsepower diesel 4-wheel drive monster. But that's it. I think I'll try to put up the next video within the next month or so, but share some costs and pains with you guys.